Coming out swinging and hanging on with Kagurabachi for the current new weekly Shonen Jump manga staples in the making, Ichi the Witch has captured audiences that are looking for something new with their weekly indulgences. With myself included, I can say that the immaculate art, the wonderful storytelling, and the ability to make the weekly villain scenario not seem too overpowering at first, the upside to that being that you only notice how long that portion is only after we have moved on to the next arc or dove into a deeper story. Most stories begin with a villain of the week style, but usually transition to the kind of arc that has a more linear story progression with the lore and character development to help move the story along. A good example being the latest Bakugami arc here in Ichi the Witch. Ichi is a boy who lives in a world of magic that can only be performed by women. But until then, he had no idea that these powers existed because he hunted in the forest, gathering things for himself, by himself, and very much away from civilization. So, you can guess his social skills and understanding are a little under the average bar. But when it was found out that he could fight, it was impressive. And then somehow he could capture these beings of this world called magics. Not only that, at the beginning of the story, capturing the most notorious one of all, and even the Witch Association's best witch couldn't capture him. After the display with the worst magic, Uroro, and capturing him, he had an offer to join the Mantanel Witches Association, where he was obviously hesitant at first, and he enjoyed the offer for the hunt. After thinking it over, this would help him keep up his edge when fighting and hunting the ever-changing enemy, which was interesting for him. So after a little bit of thought, he accepted. After capturing Uroro and the Raiko and Hisame magics, Inazuru and Uruwashi, respectively, we get into the most interesting arc within Ichi the Witch so far, being the Kindake contest arc, taking place in Hoitaka, where we essentially have a competition between Team Discaris and Team Togeise to acquire the Massil vein by severing its stem. Ichi is to use his hunting skills to track the mushroom and capture it, but we eventually have an interruption by the S-tier magic known as World Eater. He showcases his power, and this greatly shows the scale at which the series will get into, how dangerous and important that really is in the need to get stronger and take the whole matter seriously. This is a point that I noticed as I started reading Ichi weekly. This story is similar to all where you have the gradual scale, usually heading upward, where the story goes from simple to complex, our greatest example being One Piece, where there is still lore being dropped that changes perspectives of previous chapters even today. But with Ichi the Witch, this change is more like One Punch Man's, but a little quicker. We are starting to see the scale of the tragedy that could happen if you aren't holding yourself to a higher standard for others. The lighter tone is shifting to becoming more lore-based as the arcs go on. That point is greatly exemplified with the latest arc in Ichi, the Bakugami arc. Here you have a tourist hotspot city where people come to see their joyous sorrow magic, Bakugami, a tapir-like entity that absorbs human sadness. Now on the surface that sounds fine, but everything has its underlying effect, whether good or bad. With this arc and finding out more about Bakugami, we find they are connected to the World Eater magic, and this is the reason why they are doing this, and plus they want to. A difference between this arc and the previous one has been that we have an additional character, Gokuraku, almost acting as the main character for this arc. Ichi and the others still had a lot, but this arc felt pretty full with characters' stories. Gokuraku's sister, Richiya, and family, as well as the town's backstory, and eventually getting everything back and finally moving on. This is the kind of stuff that I will be looking forward to in the future when it comes to the manga. Speaking of the future, with this latest chapter being chapter 45, it's started with a beautiful color spread with Kumugi and her sister Spica. I always love when Ichi the Witch gets the color pages, because it is a very colorful world. The events that happen in this chapter would showcase it as well if it was colorized. This week's chapter is titled Appearances Deceiving. I knew something would be up because I know that a lot of people like Discaris, but personally, I'm not a fan at all. I like when she can be understanding, but she is the type of tsundere that can't help it and doesn't want to, or at least doesn't seem like it. Like I said, which is fine if you like that, but I'm not a fan. Now, upon reading the chapter, she isn't like Discaris, but she is fake and being shady. But she knows what she wants, and that is gaining notice by the higher-ups to better get in their ranks. She is calculating and a businesswoman type, knows what to do and when to do it, even before she knows details about him. And as the anti-human hater squad is announced, so is the first reveal and announcement of the new male witch, Ichi the Witch, and the rest of the squad consisting of Kumugi as the record keeper, Gokuraku as the magic items crafter, and Discaris as the squad's leader. Nothing was given to Ichi as a title, probably just being the male witch. As Ichi and the squad are revealed, it turns out that our confidence of not liking him because of his reputation turned out to be harder than it looked. And Spica is not keeping to her word well, claiming he's her type, very elegant, and has an aura and demeanor that shows he would be great in the future. She ends the chapter claiming she wants Ichi the Witch, probably to claim for status. She did bring up in the chapter that she could possibly get him as a husband to further the family name. Could be the case. I will give this chapter a solid 8 out of 10. With pacing and story progression leading the way it is with the story, we get a lot of the announcement done, and will hopefully be moving on to finding new members, or finally starting another arc, or possibly a training arc this time. My predictions for the next and future chapters have to deal with the adventures and reason they go on them, and that Spica will try to find a way onto Ichi's squad somehow, already having an in from Kumugi being her sister. If they have a rule set up where you can't have siblings on the same squad, then she's not in a very good position. Also, with her saying all of those good things about Ichi, about his aura and everything, looking back into this last chapter, this may affect how he acts in the future, but this was definitely the works of Miss Toga Ise and the Montanel Witches Association to get him ready and presentable for the announcement. So I'm curious to see how she will react whenever she meets him for real, because I'm sure he will meet her at some point. The only thing with meeting her at the announcement will be that he was possibly told to be and remain on his best behavior. So he could act really good when they meet, and she continues to have this perception of him being this almost noble-like person. But without getting to the last part of my predictions of the chapter for the next one, that will do it for this week's video of Ichi the Witch, and I will see you in the next video.